10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Hi there, good morning or good noon. My name is Bea Cupin. You are watching Rappler, and we are at Camp Aguinaldo, the headquarters of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, because a few hours ago, officially both sides, the Philippines and the United States, officially declared Balikatan 2024, or the 39th iteration of the yearly war games between the two countries, closed. So 3 weeks ago, 18 days to be exact, we were in this almost exact same spot covering the opening of Balikatan. So let me give you a quick rundown of what has happened in the past 18 days. Yung Balikatan 2024 is what military officials have called the most complicated version of Balikatan yet. It happened across 3 provinces in the Luzon area of the Philippines. In Palawan, nagkaroon ng joint maritime exercises, multilateral maritime exercises rather, between the Philippines and the United States, of course, but also the French Navy joined for the first time. And for the first time as well, these drills were held at the beyond the 12 nautical mile territorial seas of the Philippines and onto the West Philippine Sea, or yung exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas. Now, also in Palawan, they held amphibious landing exercises. And then up north, in Batanes, the northernmost part of the Philippines, there were several joint exercises as well, the highlight of which was an island-taking exercise by Philippine Marines and US Marines. But the real highlight, or yung biggest and most complicated siguro na exercise within Balikatan 2024, took place in the home province of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Ilocos Norte. Now, sa Lawag, sa Paway, at the La Paz Sand Dunes to be exact, Philippine and US forces held a counter-landing exercise. In effect, it's an exercise to ward off an amphibious attack or a landing of an enemy force. Amphibious meaning galing sa dagat papuntang lupa. And also in the same area, the La Paz Sand Dunes, or the waters of those sand dunes, the Philippines and the US successfully sank the BRP Lake Caliraya, that is a decommissioned Philippine Navy oil tanker that was made in China. That was the highlight of the exercise. Interestingly enough, typically yung biggest exercise in Balikatan attracts the highest-ranking officials of the Philippines and the United States. In the case of the Philippines, of course, President Ferdinand Marcos himself, and for the U.S., Ambassador Mary Kay Carlson. This year, they did not go to Ilocos or to Lawag, but they stayed in Metro Manila, where they observed the exercise through a joint command center. They didn't disclose where it was, but as far as we understand, top officials from the defense, security, governance sectors of the Philippines and the embassy in the United States were here to witness the exercise. Sabi nga ni Ambassador Carlson, the joint exercise in trying to sink or successfully sinking the BRP Lake Caliraya was a highlight not just of her ambassadorship in Manila, but of her career so far as a diplomat. So 3 provinces, several exercises. Yung parang overlying theme of all those exercises is defending the Philippines from an attack, right? Parang kumbaga you can divide it into 2. Yung isa yung defensive, yung defensive drills, kumbaga preventing any enemy from even approaching Philippine land. Another defensive exercise, yung island taking naman. Parang what will the two countries do should the enemy already advance? Paulit-ulit na sinasabi ng Philippine and US officials, military officials, defense officials, Balikatan is not trained or it's not directed towards any third party, any particular country, but it does try to prepare both Philippine and US troops for any situation, or in the words of Lieutenant General Cederholm of the United States Marines, the worst case scenario. Right? So, as early as now, if you click through this live and you saw the title, you will know that next year, what is touted to be or what is expected to be the highlight of Balikatan 2025 will be, in the words of Secretary Gibo Chodoro, a full battle simulation. Now, we were asking military officials, Balikatan officials, kung ano bang ibig sabihin ng full-scale or full battle simulation. No details are available as of yet. We don't know what it'll exactly entail, although early on, kanina sa press conference, Major General Licodini parang hinted at a greater involvement of civilian forces, talking about the Philippine National Police and the Philippine Coast Guard, among other agencies, in this simulation. But again, wala pang final details because the first meeting for Balikatan 2025 is actually happening after lunch today. So before officials from the US military leave the Philippines, they will be holding meetings with their Filipino counterparts to start planning for Balikatan 2025, which will be happening around the same time this year, around the same time in 2025. So summer 2025 mangyayari yung Balikatan 2025. Ang daming 2025. Anyway, back to Balikatan. No? What is the point of holding these Balikatan exercises? As sinasbanggit na to ng opening, no? It is the parang making sure that the Mutual Defense Treaty or the Philippines and the US has promised to come to each other's defense in the event of an armed attack is more than just a piece of paper. It's an actualization, it's a practice. Sabi ni Lieutenant General Cederholm of the United States, we must train so we are always ready. Again, talking about the worst case scenario that they mentioned back in Lawag, no? When they say it's the most complicated or most complex version of Balikatan, it's simply referring to, well, the complexity of the situation or the goals that they have set for themselves or the scenario that they created for themselves. For instance, yung ship sinking exercise, a bulk of the assets that the Philippines and the United States used were from the sea and from the air. And that involves a lot of coordination to make sure that everyone is safe, to make sure that the attack is coordinated, to make sure that it's quite precise or as precise as it can possibly be. Also to note, yung maritime strike or yung ship sinking exercise na to was also an opportunity for the Philippines to use in the context of a military exercise its latest technology, right? A lot of yung mga nilabas during the exercise, among others, yung Sea Star na system kaka-install lang sa BRP Jose Rizal. Gumamit din sila ng non-line of sight weapons that they also recently not battle tested, but tested for the first time, and then they used it again for the maritime exercise. So in a way, aside from also yun nga parang reinforcing yung Mutual Defense Treaty, yung treaty ally status of the Philippines and the United States, it's also on a practical level, it is making sure that interoperability or the ability for the US and the Philippines to work together is always in practice. It never gets rusty. Aside from that, it's also an opportunity for the Philippines and the US to flex both their partnership and also the assets that they do have ready in case of that worst case scenario that our military officials keep referring to. Aside from the live fire exercises and other similar exercises in Balikatan, nagkaroon din ng mga info and cybersecurity exercises between the two countries. Also to add, aside from the French Navy, some 100 or so Australian troops also participated in this year's Balikatan. Lieutenant General Cederholm and Major General Licodini were asked if they plan to involve more countries in the next iteration of Balikatan. Ang sagot doon ay hindi pa nila alam dahil again, they are still in the planning stages. And for the most part, or actually, yung pag-invite or yung pag-involve ng isang country in Balikatan is ultimately up to the Philippines to decide if it wants to accept any offer of a, say, like-minded nation to participate in the yearly war games between the US and the Philippines. Also to give more context, no, yung bigger picture nito is that the Philippines is fortifying or intensifying its defense relationships, not just with the United States, who is a traditional treaty or a treaty ally of the Philippines, a traditional partner in terms of security and defense, but the Philippines is also working to expand its security ties with countries in the region and beyond. So we're talking about Australia, with whom the Philippines has a visiting forces agreement. In the works is an RAA or Reciprocal Access Agreement with Japan, parang VFA-like deal yon. They're also working on a possible same arrangement with Canada. France has opened up, has expressed their interest in also forging a same kind of agreement with the Philippines. So it's interesting in that capacity na parang the Philippines is really looking to not just strengthen its existing relationship with the United States, its treaty ally, but also looking at other countries amid, of course, what they keep on calling yung complexities of the region. Philippine officials, defense security officials, not say this explicitly, but of course, they're referring to specifically sa Indo-Pacific, no? Yung China's expansionist tendencies or expansionist moves in the South China Sea, and especially for the Philippines, in the Philippine context, no? It's China's willingness to be more aggressive in its actions in pushing forth its claims in the South China Sea, including in the West Philippine Sea, where the Philippines should be enjoying dapat its exclusive or its sovereign rights. Also mentioned during the closing kanina was the commitment, again, obviously the commitment of the US and the Philippines, but also speaking of yung mga multilateral security cooperations, nabanggit ni Secretary Chodoro yung squad or yung bagong grouping that's emerging. Recently, nagmeeting ang US, Japan, Philippines, and Australia, and Hawaii. Secretary Chodoro was there. Again, talking about deterrence, a free and open Indo-Pacific, among other things. That's it so far from Camp Aguinaldo in Quezon City, the closing of Balikatan 2024. Of course, this isn't where, kumbaga, military cooperation and ties between the two countries. And there is actually there's going to be another exercise between the armies naman of the two countries, and then later this year probably another exercise, this time involving the navies of the two countries. So it's interesting to see the developments, not just of the Philippine-US relationships, no, but the Philippines strengthening its or even building on and creating new defense and security ties across the region and beyond. Again, this has been Bea Cupin. If you have any questions, comments, violent reactions, hopefully not violent, just reactions, to Balikatan 2024 or any other security, defense, foreign affairs issue concerning the Philippines and the region, you can log on to the Rappler app and find the communities page, where you will then find a security and global affairs, the community, the security and global affairs community. Click on that tab and you can join in the conversation. I'm there. If you have questions, I'll try to answer them if I can answer them. And you can continue the conversation there. Again, I am Bea Cupin. You've been watching Rappler. Thank you for watching, guys. And I'll see you online. Goodbye.